Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 24 quarterback rankings for week 13. You ready?
Started from the bottom.
Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rolling on the field.
Fantasy Goodfellas. Before we get started, tell me how we did on last week's rankings.
All right. Last week, we hit on 21 of our 24 quarterbacks. Boom, boom, boom. We just missed on Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, and Andy Dalton.
Well, it's getting too easy for us. If you haven't seen our videos, let me just explain what you should expect. Richard's going to give his rankings. I'm going to use our stat machine to see if you agree or disagree with each of his rankings. Richard, line them up.
All right. First, buys. Arizona and Carolina will be on buys this week. And number one, Patrick Mahomes, who will be at Cincinnati. Mahomes didn't have the best week in week 12, but he's going to have to pass a lot against the Bengals. This will be a shootout, fun game. Mahomes will deliver. And number two, Jalen Hurts will be home against Tennessee. Jalen Hurts continues to be where Lamar Jackson could have been, should have been. Jalen Hurts produces week in, week out. You got to love him. And number three, Josh Allen at New England. Josh Allen, another guy, you can argue he's the best quarterback in fantasy. He can put up great numbers, but he's up against New England, has a pretty good defense. We'll see what Bill Belichick has up his sleeve. And there's the question about the elbow. And number four, Joe Burrow, home against Kansas City. Joe has been great in recent weeks, and maybe not last week, but he's been pretty good. I think to date he's QB4. Burrow against Mahomes is going to be fun. And number five, Tua Tagovailoa at San Francisco. The MVP candidate is going to play the best defense in the league. We'll see what happens when you have arguably the best offense against the best defense. And number six, Justin Herbert at Las Vegas. Herbert shows signs of life in week 12, had a great week 12. Is he back? Is he over his injury? Does Keenan Allen being healthy really change everything up on that offense? He still has Austin Eckler. I think he's going to have a strong week. And number seven, Dak Prescott, who will be home against Indianapolis. Dak has been back. He's been playing well. Dallas has been winning. And number eight, Geno Smith at the LA Rams. I mean, what is going on with the Rams? Geno Smith in Seattle, they had a tough loss. They put up a lot of points, but had a tough loss against Las Vegas. I think that offense will be fine. Again, the Achilles heels for Seattle is their defense. And number nine, Lamar Jackson, home against Denver. Lamar Jackson was QB8 in week 12, a little better than he's been in recent weeks. And but still, I mean, he had that big fourth quarter, almost led Baltimore to the victory, and that really helped his stats. But again, he's been middling. He's been middling since week 4. So he's difficult to trust, but because of the upside, because he can be the number one QB on any given week, you got to give him a little respect. At number 10, Deshaun Watson at Houston. Deshaun is back. He's back, and I'm excited to see what he can do on the field. I don't think it's going to take him very long to acclimate and start making things happen. But you still gotta, you gotta pump the brakes a little on all that Deshaun Watson excitement. But I think we'll see the fruits very soon.
Hold on. Everybody talks about rust, and you already got him in your top 10. How is that even possible with a player with that much time being off?
I get it, right? He's on a new team, hasn't played in a long time, but it's Deshaun Watson. He's a special talent. I think he's going to come in right away and obviously show you something better than Jacoby Brissett immediately. And then in a couple of weeks, he could definitely be in that top 5.
We'll see.
And number 11, Trevor Lawrence at Detroit. Trevor Lawrence passed for over 300 yards and led his team to a victory in week 12, which is huge. But still, You don't see that amazing play from Trevor Lawrence. And I'm saying, and I know you like him, Ryan, but I I don't see what I saw, for example, in Justin Fields for 3-4 weeks. And I'm not just talking about fantasy. I'm talking about where you can be a difference maker for your team. Yes, they won, but I don't know. I think Trevor that there was something major lost in translation from the college game to the pro game, right? What he was supposed to be, Trevor Lawrence hasn't met that expectation. And number 12, Tom Brady, home against New Orleans. We'll see. We'll see how Tom Brady rebounds. We'll see if that team is marching into the playoffs. There are a lot of question marks, but New Orleans has been horrible on offense, which might force Brady to or Tampa Bay to run. So we'll see. I'm not so excited about Brady this week. And number 13, Jimmy Garoppolo, home against Miami. Jimmy G is going to have to pass the ball to keep up with the Dolphins. So it's going to be fun. And just remember, he has weapons, lots of them, between Ayuk, between McCaffrey, between Deebo Samuel. And number 14, Kirk Cousins, home against the New York Jets. Captain Kirk, man. He's up against a tough defense. Minnesota, though, is rolling. We'll see what happens. And number 15, Derek Carr against the LA Chargers. Derek Carr, super inconsistent all season, but has Devontae Adams and now Josh Jacobs. Yes, I'm going to start giving him love. Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. So Derek Carr has weapons. He's got a decent matchup this week. We'll see. And number 16, Aaron Rodgers at Chicago. Aaron Rodgers is even going to play. He's got the thumb problem. He's got other issues now. If he plays, he's going to go up against a good defense, a good matchup, and I'm sure he wants to prove that he still has a shot, even though Green Bay right now doesn't look like they're even making the playoffs. And number 17, Mike White at Minnesota. Yes, Mike White from the Jets. He actually had a few good games last season. He has shown us this before. This is a really good team. Zach Wilson was horrendous. So Mike White might be in a great situation and might be a great fantasy producer for the rest of the season. And number 18, Jared Goff, home against Jacksonville. Jared Goff hasn't been as great as he was at the beginning of the season. He's got a good matchup this week. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that Detroit offense. And number 19, Ryan Tannehill at Philadelphia. Ryan Tannehill's been throwing it more as he gets healthier. Treylon Burks looks like he's the real deal. And number 20, Daniel Jones, home against Washington. It looks like the Giants are who we thought they were. They've come off a couple of losses. I expect more. They weren't that 7-2 team they started off as. That's just not them. Saquon Barkley's also coming down to earth. But here's the thing with Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones decides to be Justin Fields, if he decides to run first, he can be very successful. But if he remains, if Daboll keeps him as a pocket quarterback, he's nothing special. And number 21, Marcus Mariota, home against Pittsburgh. Marcus Mariota runs, and that gives him value, gives him a little bit of value. And number 22, Kenny Pickett at Atlanta. Good matchup. Kenny Pickett looked okay on Monday night. I'm still not sold long term. I don't believe in that Pittsburgh offense. They will struggle, but he's the best of what's left. And number 23, Matt Ryan against Dallas. Matt Ryan hasn't looked great. Better than Ellinger, but hasn't, all season looked like a shell of himself. He's up against Dallas. Tough matchup, but they're going to have to pass to keep up with the Cowboys. For that reason, I think Matt Ryan could have a decent game. And number 24, Tyler Heineke at the New York Giants. Again, best of what we have left. Heineke still has Scary Terry. He's got decent options out of the backfield. He's 5-1 as a starter. Anyways, those are your top 24 for week 13.
Before we get out of here, I just want to compare your rankings to some other rankings. Even though it's minute, I'd like to say you got Tua ranked 5th. Some other rankings got him at 7th.
Yeah, I love Tua. I love Tua. I love what the Dolphins are doing. I love what Mike McDaniel's doing. I'm on board. I think as long as you have Tyreek Hill, Waddle, you're going to put up fantasy points. And you know, you can't sell Tua short either. He's very accurate, as they say. He's making the right reads.
All right. The next one, Marcus Mariota. You have him at 21. Some other rankings have him at as high as 17.
No, yeah, I wouldn't rank him too high. If you're a Mariota owner, you know he doesn't pass the ball. The guy doesn't pass the ball. His points are all about his running, and again, you can't count on that like week in, week out.
And the last one, you got Tyler Heineke at 24. Some other rankings have him as high as 20.
Oh wow, I'm surprised. I mean, Heineke was one of those guys that I even considered not to rank, but he just made it. Yeah, I mean, he again, because he's winning on the field, that doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy points, but he's been all right.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 24 quarterback rankings for week 13. Anything you want to add before we get out of here for this week?
Nothing, just week 13, we made it.
Those fantasy good fellas.
Rolling on the field.
Those fantasy good fellas.